What's up, everybody? TI Trading Wiz here, coming to you guys with another video. So what I wanted to go over today is kind of just today, because today was a chop day, very dodgy day on a day candle. In fact, I'll show you guys how dodgy it actually is in comparison to the days that we just had. So if I go to this chart, you can see this is a little dodgy candle. It's noon. It's almost 1 p.m. now on the day. So you can see how dodgy this day is, right? Especially after this big rally. Honestly, I was expecting either kind of like a dodgy day. Either it's like, well, there's three options. We continue ripping maybe up to this top band, or we end up leveling out for a little bit, or have a little bit of a pullback, right? So all three of these are in play kind of after you have like three big days like this. And so what I want to do here is I just kind of want to talk about today, because today was a harder day to trade, I think, for a lot of people on NQ. But first off, I think what I want to show here is I want to show people what ES looked like on the 5-minute chart. Because ES today, if you're looking at ES on a 5-minute chart, you can see how easy this was to trade. Like, here's the 8 moving average. We have a change of character right here, right around this 930 open. We pull back to the 8, and then we skyrocket, right? And you could have just tried to trade off that 8 moving average almost all day, indefinitely in the morning. And it would have worked out really well. I think what I would have probably waited for at 9:30, see if we break over this change of character. If we don't, see if we don't get a bounce off the 8 moving average and a push through these overnight last little highs we had, right? And once we got that push, that would have been an okay trade. You could have waited for another pullback. You can see how that change of character lines up almost perfectly with the pullback as well. Again, high reward, low risk trade there. So ES just looks so pretty compared to NQs. Like, what the heck are we doing on NQ? Like, this is the 8 moving average, and these are the candles that we're getting. It's just like a barcode almost, right? And so very difficult trade today on NQ. Now, what I will say is, using the ES chart as a confluence, right, of when we have a day like this, and I think specifically I will zoom in like right here on these candles that we're getting a pullback, right? So what these candles look like on ES when you compare them, right? So this is the same area right here on ES. So this green candle was a red candle, right? And then you had the 1, 2, 3, and then we had this little takeoff here, right? On NQ, we had, it looked like this would have been 1, 2, 3, and then this takeoff right here. But there's no real like level here. Like, we do have kind of an order block down here. But it's not off of any major support levels. It's just nasty. So that was kind of the thing going into this morning, was just like, it was just gross, kind of, is the best way I can describe it. And on a 1-minute chart, it even gets worse, right? It's just ugly as all get out on the 1-minute chart. 2-minute chart, it gets a little bit better on NQ for today. Where you can start to 2-minute chart is where you can start to draw trend lines and get kind of ideas of breakout situations, right? So we have the 930, like this, right? And then we have this dip down. We have potentially, like, if you draw this dip, we have this kind of push back up. But it's still very difficult to trade. And you can see some of the lines that I already had. And you can see this one right here. Now, this one I just traded. This was my last trade of the day. And once we got the push out, and we started getting the push out, I went ahead and got long. Near the top of this, I think I had one contract here and I had another contract down here. So I was upside down, negative, and we're bouncing off of VWAP, right, for a majority of this position until we finally got the push out, right? And I was really hoping that we would kind of maybe test this high, but we didn't. And I was able to exit both positions for like a little bit of profit. I think I made like $600 on that trade, $1,000 in total on the day. Really taking two major setups, which was kind of the ones that you see on the chart, which is this one where we have the break of, we do have a break of structure to the upside, but I drew this trend line and I use other kind of confirmations to confirm that, this was probably going to pull back down. And so I kind of was able to snag into that one relatively quickly. But I mean, the main thing that I'm taking trades off of, right, is actually the 15-minute chart. A lot of people underestimate the 15-minute chart or don't know how to utilize it in a chop day like this, right? But I think the 15-minute chart makes things very, very easy to read, right? You draw a trend line from like this is market. This is like the first couple hours, right? So I'm drawing a trend line after to from the lows to the lows. So this was our 10:15, right? You can see how we kind of still respected this area right here. But more importantly, right, is the range of these 15-minute candles, right? And what do I mean by like the range of the 15-minute candles? Like where a lot of times if we have a big red candle, right, and we're going to continue, it's either that this candle is going to break to the downside and we're probably going to come for all-time lows. Or if we end up holding this level, right, what I'm looking for on a 15-minute chart is, looking for it to maybe sweep these lows right here, possibly, right? So I would probably want to put my stop somewhere around this zone, right? But what initially, right? But what I really want to see is like us to kind of do a little liquidity sweep of this wick here, right? And then start to push back up. And if I take this trade on a lower time frame, right, then what I'm looking for is confirmation that I'm looking for any type of confirmation that that's a potential buy. So this was the 10:15 candle, right? And so if we go to the lower time frames, right before that push up, you can see on the lower time frames, let's see, lower time frames, it looks kind of nasty. Let's see if there was anything on the stacked and balance. Yeah, here it is. There was this level. All right, so footprint chart. So you can see this level right here is a stacked and balance, and this is that push out. So I'm looking for it to take this stack and balance out and then potentially try to push it. Now we kind of came through the stacked and balance, right, a little bit. This is why I wanted to give it probably a little bit of breathing room, right? But as soon as it starts to push off the stacked and balance, especially when you're trading a stacked and balance, it's either that these orders are going to get absorbed and it's going to push, right, and it's not going to come back. If it comes back, now these orders have already been absorbed. It's much more choppy. You don't want to be in it as much. And so this is a trade where, you take, and as soon as it's in profit, right, you bring up your trade to break even. And, I do this thing where I get stopped out all the time on a lot of my trades, right? Especially on days like this. I'm going to get stopped out quite often. But on days like this, it's harder. It's definitely harder to trade. And sometimes you just you're going to sometimes hold through more drawdown than you normally would. That's just going to be part of it. But this is why it's like, I really like looking for bottoms like this. Timing the bottoms is a hard thing to do, right? But and you're going to be wrong sometimes, but trying to identify where these levels potentially are, especially on something like a 15-minute chart, right, where we can see that extra push down, we take out that stacked and balance, and then we get that this whole shoot up all the way back to this back to VWAP. The other main thing on the 15-minute chart, which was something that my last trade where I took a long, right, was the fact that VWAP here on the 15-minute chart, right, VWAP on the 15-minute chart is holding, right? So we came back through it, and now you can see that it's holding. So you can also see how VWAP was rejecting right here off these two candles. Like VWAP was resistance, and now VWAP became support here, right? And so this was important for me to look at. And if we started to potentially go lower than, say, these wicks here, right? I would have probably cut that trade, my last trade that I was in. And yeah, so, I mean, the thing is too, is again, it's like you have to let some of your trades breathe. Again, that last trade that I did was based off this trend line, right? Based on the 15-minute VWAP chart, showing that, hey, VWAP is supporting. It looked like we started to potentially get a push out of this trend, right? And so I went long, literally probably at the top of this candle. And then I took a second contract once we pulled back. So my average was like somewhere in this range, right? So probably 202, right? With two contracts. And then we pulled back almost 10 points from my average entry. So, drawdown wise, like, yeah, I'm holding through 10 points worth of drawdown. But 10 points of drawdown times, 10 points times 40. So like $400 worth of drawdown, right? To try to make probably $800 to $1,000 on a trade though. So that's kind of, again, the risk to reward. Now, do I wish I would have had better entries, right? Do I wish I would have got the bottom perfectly? Yes, but that doesn't happen all the time, right? And I couldn't break even my trade on this one as quickly as I could on the stacked and balance. Stacked and balance took and it went, right? This one was a lot more, if I zoom in on the 2-minute, right? So what I'm looking for now is I'm looking for, are we going to break this triangle, right? Now that I'm in these entries, right? This is the bottom of the range. And now we're going into like this wedge, right? And are we going to get a close and a push, right? And depending on what account size I'm trading, right? Once we get this close and we start to get this push, I might even add into the position. And again, that's a little bit more nuance. But that's something that I potentially look to do, especially if I think that we're going to maybe going towards all, the day's high. I might be looking to push into, add into this position, because this was what, a 30 on the high end. I think this was like for me, probably a 30 point trade, 20 point trade. So yeah, so 20 points, not bad. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, my biggest thing though is, when you're in a chop day, a barcode day, the 15-minute is invaluable, I think, right? I think, knowing that, when VWAP becomes support is invaluable, right? I think that this is like a key thing to look at, right? Because even if we are again trading just this range right here, right? Just this VWAP range, let's say right there, right? That's a 20-point range over and over and over and over and then over again, right? So that is a large 20-point range that you can trade. People just came over my house, so I'm willing to go ahead and hop off, but make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.